Hello, everyone. I'm Jeanclaude and welcome to today's War Correspondent special report. Today, we're decoding July 15 and the triple conjunction. With me for this conversation, of course, is the author of The Rebel Gene. You can find that on Amazon, and you can find her work, of course, Kerry Cassidy here at projectcamelotportal.com. Kerry, welcome back. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Nice to see you.
Thank you for being on. I know it's a bit early for you in your time zone. Really appreciate your time. I know you were traveling tomorrow for this UFO conference, and I wanted to get you in here before all the hoopla of the July 15th event. So I really appreciate your time, Kerry. Folks, please also join me in welcoming Meg Moonbeam. You can find her work at the Beyond Mystic Academy, where she's teaching right now astrology level 2, and she's coming up also with an astrology group class mentorship program soon to be. So we're going to be announcing that, guys, in just a little bit. And of course, also, if you want to take a booking with her, you can do so at consultations.beyondmystic.net. Meg, welcome back. How are you?
Doing very, very well. I literally just got back from the Sacred England retreat that my husband Jens and I hosted the past 10 days. So I'm just like buzzing, and I'm so happy that you asked me, JC, to come on with you and Kerry today. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, excited to have you back. And what's the big takeaway from your retreat? Any big highlights you want to share with the audience?
Oh my God, that getting together in person with our soul family, with our like-minded community is what we need to do right now. And that's something that I've been really missing out on the past year, 2 years. You know, we've gotten so much more into doing the Zoom calls and being online, and it was so nourishing to be together, and not just at the sacred sites, and we did a lot of magical things, but just quality time in person. I'm so grateful that we were able to do that and meet amazing people from all over the world.
Cool. Hey, you've got some people from Belgium watching tonight.
Oh,
welcome
cool.
From all over the world. And just very quickly, what was the most interesting or energetic sacred site to you? What were you feeling out there? What would you say?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think my favorite in the UK is Avebury. That's always been my favorite ever since I've been there. But one of my most favorite parts was going to the Crop Circle Visitor Center that's run by a Dutch lady named Monique. I'm forgetting her last name right now, but her first name's Monique. And learning about the crop circle phenomenon and how much that's actually going on and being hidden from the public totally blew my mind. There's crop circles that are becoming more and more complex and intricate, showing up every year, and it's a huge cover up. So that's something I definitely want to look more into for sure.
Okay. Fascinating. Kerry's done a lot of work on that and interviewed quite some interesting people on the topic of crop circles for the last number of years. Also, who was that gentleman you were recording? You guys were what's his name? You guys were sitting on the couch and he kept banging on the microphone on the table. He had a big book. What was his name? Kerry, do you remember?
You're talking to me?
Yeah.
Somebody with a big book banging on the table.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the interview was hard to listen to.
Recent or a long time ago?
Oh, no, a long time ago.
I've interviewed thousands of people.
Yeah.
It's a little, I mean, can you put it in a little more context than that? Was there a subject matter or something he specialized in?
Yeah. He was specialized in this particular research. I want to say that, oh man. Anyways, I'll find it. I digress. But thank you for being on, and thank you, both of you, for all the work you guys are doing. Meg, I know you've prepared some slides for us today. We're going to look at this Mars-Uranus algol conjunction, this triple conjunction here hitting us in the orb right now, and how that could affect some of the events that are being forecasted now by the remote viewers, as well as the WebBot data, as well as from Kerry Cassidy and a lot of her whistleblowers right now. It seems to be all bubbling up at the same time here. So I'm looking forward to looking at the astrology with you today. Kerry, of course, you did a wonderful interview the other day also on this subject matter. And guys, if you're watching us on the live stream now, today's interview is somewhat of a follow-up or added information on the interview I did yesterday with 107 on subject matter, the one I did 2 days before that with Cliff High, and the one from a week ago or a week and a half ago with Dick Allgaier. Now, all of them are getting different data points here, looking at this big event that's basically going off the Richter scale, so to speak, here on their radar. Cliff is looking at a 13 time increase, or 13-fold increase to 9/11. That's what he's picking up here, and he's been looking at that for a month. So there seems to be a lot there. Kerry, why don't you set the table, perhaps for the people who haven't seen any of their shows or your show on the subject matter, in your view right now and what you're gathering in terms of info, what are we looking at here for next week for in or around July 15? What can we expect?
Okay. Well, what I have done is, first of all, I have watched Cliff High's talk about the data spike. So I'm really concentrated on that data spike. And then he gave out dates, which is quite rare, I think, in zeroing in on any event, because even through the, remote viewers have trouble pinpointing dates. So I just want to say from the outset that I am not convinced this is going to happen on the 15th or 16th. And I have certain reasons for that. But first, I'll just lay it out. So we have Dick Allgaier. He's got a group of expert remote viewers. Arguably, they used to work even for the military. So they have what you call a hit rate that is really high, probably well over 80%, well over that. And Dick Allgaier is the most well-known of them. Daz Smith is another one who I've interviewed both of them in the past over the years. So I kind of feel I know them to some degree. And I can also say I've also had off the record conversations, at least with Daz Smith. And Daz Smith is phenomenal, and his hit rate is also amazing. All these guys are great. Okay. Now on that picture, the woman was not involved in this particular remote viewing. I'm sorry, I don't know her name, but in that picture, I'm just saying. So we just want to be clear as to who was involved and who wasn't. So right. You can go to their website, futureforecastinggroup.com, and you can sign up. I think it's $45 a month, but you can just sign up for like 1 month, get all the information, and then cancel. So they even recommend doing that if you don't have a lot of money.
Right.
So there's that. Now I am a member, and I send them data over, and what I do is I'm also a member of Courtney Brown. Courtney Brown is a person that a couple of these remote viewers used to work for as well.
The Farsight Institute.
And Daz Smith worked with Courtney Brown in the past. I've interviewed Courtney Brown dozens of times. We've had our run-ins. We've had our slight disagreements on certain things, but they're great remote viewers. He has as well. His group involves his son called Aziz and some wonderful women that are really phenomenal. And again, they're not, they've been vetted over and over again in terms of hit rates and ability to really see whatever's being looked at. Although I will say the reason I'm a member of both these groups is, first of all, I know how to remote view. I've done it accurately and proven it to myself. I don't go public with that because it's not my preferred way of looking at the world. So, it's the personalities that tend to be good at remote viewing, just let me say I've noticed in general, are less emotional. I'm sort of an emotional, passionate kind of type, but they're a little less emotional. They're more analytical. I'm very analytical, which is kind of weird to get an emotional, analytical type, but that's what I am. And so when they look at something, they're seeing it like they're looking across time and space. But remote viewing is like, if psychic ability is like a spectrum, remote viewing would be like just a narrow part of it. Okay, there's a zillion different psychic abilities, as you may know, being a telepath, being a precog, being a this, being that. Now, some remote viewers are also psychic, like Ingo Swann, for example, who I relate to the most of all the remote viewers because he was absolutely a psychic, but he actually considers himself the father of remote viewing. Now, he died, he's not alive, but he, at the time, considered himself, because he worked with Hal Puthoff and SRI in Stanford to set up the protocols. This is my understanding. And I've read lots and lots of Ingo's stuff, okay, including his book I think it's called Penetration. Mm-hmm. And you can get this stuff online still. And he was a wonderful painter as well. So just trying to give a little background on these remote viewers so people understand why we're paying attention, why what they say matters, okay? And so when I look at their stuff, I do it as a sort of psychic view of it. So I actually tap into what they're tapping into. I see if I'm getting a hit, whether I think they're right or wrong. I see maybe beyond what they're willing to say or allowed to say, because I think they have constraints. Okay, I'm just going to say that. They may disagree. They may come forward and say that's not true, but I believe they do. I believe there's evidence that they do. And even with this event, I would say that there's a very likely some things they're not allowed to say. Okay.
Well, Dick Alligator was on the show just last week, and he kind of said, "Oh, some of those things we're supposed to not talk about." I pinged him on a few questions, and he said, "We're kind of told not to talk about that stuff." JC
right.
said, "Okay, let's."
So, and who are they told by? Of course, the military. Right. All right.
Right.
So, just so we get things set, okay. Yeah. So, and then Cliff High, he and I do not. We have a rather contentious relationship. He likes to badmouth me on occasion. Many occasions, but that's okay. It is what it is. I'm not going to get into that, but I will say I've known him for many, many years. I was one of the first people to ever interview him regarding his webbot, for what it's worth. This was a long time ago. So, I think the webbot is good technology. I think what it is looking at, though, is us. It's us on the internet. So if whatever you're talking about is not on the internet, he's not going to get it. Okay, so that's one thing to be aware of. Mm-hmm. But you might say that everything we talk about is on the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, some of us might have more private lives, right? Mm-hmm. It's believable. So just saying that this is what the playing field that we're looking at. And so when I'm looking at that, I'm looking through my own filter and through the various things. And I have close to 20 years of whistleblower testimony to back me up on a lot of the points I try to make. I connect the dots. In addition to my own psychic, intuitive stuff that has actually come true. And I'm just going to use a very quick example so you don't think I'm just, bullshitting you. For those that don't know, years ago, I remote viewed. In fact, it was kind of like a psychic dream. And I saw the Chinese troops invading our country. Fast forward. At the time, I thought it was crazy. I was actually in the Denver airport. It was a horrendous vision that I had, and I couldn't believe that would ever happen. Okay, so I basically, I remembered it. I've said it from time to time, but I've never believed it would happen. Now we have Chinese troops invading our country. Okay, mm-hmm. They're coming in through the southern border. They're coming in through the north. And back in that time when I had that vision, they said they let them in. That was very clear, so I was right. Okay, for what it's worth, whatever. Doesn't mean I'm always right either. So I kind of keep a running tally of the things that I am right on. And if I'm wrong, try to keep a tally of that as well. So just saying, these are things you can do yourself to check and double check your own abilities. Mm-hmm. So in essence, we had the spike from Cliff High on his data on and around July 15th. And then we had the remote viewers future forecasting group choosing to have that target be Cliff High's data. Mm-hmm. I guess you might say it was the target. So they remote viewed it, and there are 6 different people with all their different paperwork. Now they put a video on YouTube about the viewing, except they did not include their drawings much. Okay. So they did a cleansed version. Why they kept their real drawings out, or most of them, is beyond me, because I don't think it's that exclusive, but nonetheless they do. So that's that. So I did see their actual drawings, and I can tell you that there's a list. They do this thing where they cross-correlate all the viewers to see if they're on the same target and to see if they agree. And what they got are certain hits. One hit is a planning group around, say, a conference table or whatever that appears to be military. So there was advanced planning in this event. So keep that in mind. This is not a natural event. Okay, whatever it is, advanced planning. Secondly, they saw a UFO in the sky. 3 or more of them saw a UFO, okay, mm-hmm. during this event. Mm-hmm.
I'm showing some of the slides here of what you were talking about in this interview.
Very good.
This is the people planning around the room.
Yes, they have a hit they have some kind of projectile hitting the ground, you know, sort of coming up from the ground, like it could be water, could be the ground. I think they said the ground. They see a building being hit also, and they see also repeated projectiles. I see it like you might think of those rods of God kind of thing, or if you're familiar with that, you know, these sort of things hitting something, hitting a target. Okay. Now, I think it could be a military base. All of them, or most of them, saw NORAD being involved. Now, I want to say that even in Lahaina, NORAD was involved, but it wasn't hit. So it doesn't mean NORAD's going to be hit, but it could be. Then another remote viewer did see water next to the target. And I think that was DAS. And basically, there seems to be an emphasis on the possibility that it's the West Coast of the United States. And I'm trying to remember, there's a couple other things where they dovetailed their information. But
let me just bring up that slide here. These were the corroborating events from all the different viewers. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's excellent. So when you get the dovetailing with all the viewers is when you want to look at those particular items. And if you're trying to mix and match and put together a big picture, that's what you're going to use those items for, right?
Right.
So with that, and with the understanding I have of the Project Bluebeam planning behind the scenes, and I have quite a bit of information over the years regarding this. And I'm just going to say really quickly, it's supposed to be insectoids, perhaps are going to be the fake aliens. It's a Project Bluebeam is a fake alien invasion. However, Randy Kramer, a super soldier who's a Marine, was announcing this over 3 years ago now, 4 years ago, on stage near Yelm at a conference that I was at. And he announced this was going to happen within 3 years. They are delayed. It didn't happen within 3 years, but so they are overdue for this event. He said the military was going to do it no matter what. They decided. And the reason was ostensibly because they wanted disclosure. They wanted a kind of disclosure where they could command it. They could show that they're the winners. They could go to war with aliens and show that they would win. So you're going to have CGI. You're going to have holograms. Okay, this is all going to, in theory, be part of it. And then towards the end of it, and by the way, about 100,000 people are supposed to die during this event. So this is information that was put out on stage by Randy Kramer. He was the one who said 100,000 people would die. Now, you can take it or leave it. I'm just telling you what he said. But a lot of what he was saying about Bluebeam also coincides with some of my whistleblowers over the years who had been predicting some of this stuff. And one in particular that I think I can easily say, he's kind of gone to ground. I don't even know if he's still alive. His fake name was Henry Deacon. His real name was Arthur Neumann. So he told us close to 20 years ago that these things would be happening, but they would happen all at once. So a financial crash, Project Bluebeam, alien invasion, also targeted sicknesses that were man-made on the populations, population reduction kind of program, and a number of other things. Okay. So recently I hope I've given a good overview. I can
and hold on. I just realized I'm still broadcasting on YouTube. So let me say goodbye
sorry.
to the folks on YouTube.
We really went over there, right?
No, it's okay. Let me bring the link down to the live chat here so you guys can come and follow us on the Rumble feed. There you go. So click yes and yes. There you go. Okay. So let me just remove the YouTube feed for now. Say